Welcome on back. It's been a while since we've done a sawing video. We've kind of been focusing on the racing and had a few of you guys ask here recently, man, when you gonna do us some sawmilling stuff? Don't forget about us. That's exactly what we're doing today. More or less just discuss what I'm cutting and why I'm cutting it. Like right now, all we saw at our mill is southern pine, by the way. So a lot of building material, etc. Right here, grain's a little loose in the center, so I'll make a two-sided 6. And then my gang will make it a 6x6 and knotty. Make them 1-inch slab as well. Get my drop belt, throw that out of the way. Anytime you're dealing with pine, a lot of times the center of the log is real loose or full of wind shake. The grain's real loose in it. Ultimately, your best bet to do with that is just to box it off. Every now and then, you know, forest timber might be a little different situation. You can cut through the center and be all right. But for the most part, you're going to get crap lumber out the center. Make this an 8x8. 1-inch slab to get in my little edger. Let me get a 2-inch slab off this too, hopefully. Which we will. Kind of a smaller mill, not a giant high production mill. Usually cut 60,000 board foot a day, which is probably big to some, but in the real world it's pretty small. And how we get by is a lot of 8x8s, a lot of 3-inch lumber, some 2-inch lumber, 4, bigger lumber. A lot of agriculture stuff and whatnot. Get me a 2x8 off this as well, along with the 8x8. Plus some pretty hardy slabs that probably make some 1x8s, 1x6s or something. See, we got a scrag that y'all probably seen in videos, and mainly at the head saw, cut nothing but timber, big timber. It's 8x8s and whatnot. The scrag typically 2 sides on my small stuff. Another 8x8 out of this. Knotty, but there's no wind shake coming out of it, so it's definitely going to be a number 2 8x8. My saw, or my carriage, is a 4 head block hurdle. Ultimately the best carriage you can get for the money. And these are made, you know, to be set up out in the middle of the woods somewhere, but ours is permanently set up right here. We added the set works. Pretty cheap system there. Just kind of choose, you know, what your next size is going to be, and it automatically goes to it. Has a little probe on the carriage. I got to put an 8. So as soon as I roll this timber over, I'll press my set, and it'll automatically make it 8 inches from the head blocks to the saw. It's a non-linear carriage. So I believe you can get a linear carriage from hurdle, which more or less makes it where you can move your back 3 dogs separately. That's an ugly log right here. Matter of fact, I think I'm gonna get a 10x10 out of this. And the reason why, you can see the center of it, so red hearted it is, so I'm hoping I can box that out. Well, it's an 8 foot, so I can't do a 10x10 8, so we're gonna do an 8x8 8. And it will be kind of probably a cold 8x8, which is fine. Trying to stay away from that red hard as much as possible. See, it's got a little red showing, but it ain't bleeding, so. And a 2x8. Now this log's got a little knot in the center. I am, like I say, cutting 3x8, so if I've got a big log that's beautiful in the center tight grain, I'll just two-side it, send it to my gang, and he'll typically get 2 3x8s out of it. Recently had an order, somebody that builds like semi-trailers and trailers that carry skidders. They want that 3-inch lumber instead of the 2-inch, a heck of a lot stronger. Plus, we send a lot of our 3-inch overseas. Houses up in the seas got to be built quite a bit stronger, so we sell a lot of it overseas. We don't personally export it, but there's other companies near us that buy it and export it themselves and obviously make their profit off export. That crap off there. So just press a 1 right there. So I'll bring it back, I'll press my reset, boom, it gives me a 1-inch two-sided cant. And we'll send that to the edger and he'll make me a 1x6 or something out of it. Flip this over. Press this button, send it over to my edger. Finish this out as an 8x10. How you sawmillers doing today, man? I try to keep up with you guys as much as possible. I got a small group of y'all. My sawmilling stuff just doesn't seem to do quite as good as the rest, and I guess that's just because younger generation just doesn't care too much about sawmilling. I know a lot of you older fellers always chiming in. Mr. Lee, I know you watching right now. He's a buddy of mine I've met through YouTube. He does a little sawing himself. You know, he likes to watch it, and there's a few others that watch it. And I do sure appreciate y'all. Do know I've probably upset a few because I know it's been a while and I've lost a few subscribers, I believe, from not posting enough sawmill stuff. So if you're watching this, come on back. Like I've said in the past, it might not be as regular, but there will always be some sort of sawmill stuff going on. I mean, this is my career, so as time goes on, I hope to get more and more of it. See that blue on the log, and that's not bad, but that is your first sign of rot. I mean, it's in an early enough stage where it's not going to affect the strength of the board, but that blue is pretty, and a lot of people mistake it, but all it is your first sign of rot to your log, or the first stage. A little discoloration, but you do a little home furniture and you use pine, you get some of that stuff with the blue in it, put a little clear over it, and it turns out to be a pretty beautiful product. Alright, now we got a beautiful 20-footer here. Look at it, it's a little red in the center. I mean, I could no problem get a 10x10 out of this, but my 8x8s are what's on the market right now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring this back. I'm going to cut a 2-inch little can off of it. That'll make me a 2x8 which is a good product, high dollar product. And I'll flip it. Probably get another 1-inch can off of it, along with potentially a slab. Yeah, a little slab. Don't think the slab's big enough to make anything new. And that brings me up to 8 5/64, which is what you want by the time it goes to the planer. Be a true 8. Seeing this log is so pretty in the center, I can about cut as far towards the center as I like. So I'll get this. And I'll flip it over, and I'm gonna try to get a 2-inch board off of it as well, even if it's not the full 20. Which looks like I will. Cut it down, make a 2x8 16. Send my 8x8 out. It's definitely an 8x8 type of day, I'll tell you all that right now. Which is fine by me, because they pay pretty good. We got people that come all over to get our 8x8s, Alabama, Georgia. It's just we get such good lumber here. And we've gotten a really good connection with a treatment plant that does a really good treatment, agriculture and residential, and it's just, there's nobody around us that does a treatment that good. Mainly a wholesale mill, but we do have a small retail yard, and we do supply these 8x8s over there, and they sell them pretty regularly. Which I guess if you're building something, you mostly want something that's going to last you longer than 5 years, and typically your old Home Depot ain't got nothing like that. Yeah, if you're a sawmiller and you've ever walked into a Home Depot or a Lowe's, you pretty well can know what I'm saying whenever I tell you that lumber is garbage. This thing's full of knots, so it's going to be a wonderful customer for a 6x6 12. Send that on to the gang. He'll finish it off for me. This particular log's got a little bust right in the center. Well, a little wind shake. So what we'll do, we'll get that big hefty slab off the side. Throw that to the chipper. Let's see, we'll do a 1-inch. A little bit closer. And we'll finish it out with a 6. He'll cut a 6x6 out of that. And we're still boxing off our wind shake. It is not exposed to the face, which is what we want. And the wind shake went all the way through that log. Alright, this one is borderline too small for an 8x8 20. It's got wind shake in it, so I can't make it 3x8s. So what I can do is make it a 6x6 20, and I'll just cut this on the carriage. And no wind shake stolen through the face yet, so that's good. It's not much, but there's a little bit all the way through the center. Might try to get a 2x6 20 out of this too. Definitely get a 1x6 off that slab. Man, I definitely need to sharpen my teeth on my log turner. So that's definitely a number 2 6x6 20. Where if I would have cut that into 3x8s, that would have been some number 3 3x8s. Ultimately would have been a loss in money. Sawmilling is a dog-eat-dog business, so you've really got, a mill like this, you've got to know what you're cutting. You can't just start hacking away at these logs, trying to get the most you can get out of it, because you know you might get more out of it. You're cutting a bunch of crap, and nobody wants a bunch of crap. And that's not what I'm going to be known for, is cutting a bunch of crap lumber. People come here, they know we are sawmill people. If you do work at a sawmill, this is a good time to drop a comment. Let us know what mill you work at, what's your position, how long you been milling, you know, how long you been laying the wood. I'd like to know this kind of stuff. I'd like to see what kind of viewers I got watching this kind of stuff, and drop a comment. It'll help get this stuff out there to other sawmillers. Kind of help give me a little inspiration to keep doing these sawmill videos. Give me a like. Pretty please. Mainly just cutting 8-baits today, if you can't tell. The occasional 6-inch cant and 3 baits. A lot of these bigger logs get busted up over time, so you kind of pretty well have to box it off. This might have a little live edge on the corner. I'm about to find out. Cut that flare off of it. It'll have a little bit of live edge, but I think by the time she goes through the planer, it'll be all smoothened up. You can see, red-hearted, wind shake, full of knots. That log is the tail side of that. So I know that thing has got that wind shake all the way through, and it just spreads all the way through that log most likely. So definitely have to box those out. And this log's got a lot of curve in it. Try to cut that out of it. Get another 1-inch little slab, and that'll get me a big enough face for an 8-bait. Not too much of that is showing through, so I think we'll safely get an 8-bait out of this without making it cold. Should be a number 2. See, I'm going to show y'all, but you can see the knots on the back side of that same star pattern as that. So obviously looking at the face of that one, I automatically knew that ran all the way through that log, without even having to see the back side of it. And that's why you box off. Another nice 8-bait 20 out of this, which will be great. And little knots don't hurt nothing. I mean, obviously on like a 2-inch board or a 1-inch, a knot can affect it, but when you get these bigger timbers, the knot is not really the problem. It's the wind shake that's a huge problem. So you expose that wind shake, it's just sap, and that thing is going to bleed forever. So then after it's all bled out, you got a dry board full of cracks, typically coal after a few years. Now we got a beautiful 20-footer right here. Not too big, not too small. This will be a perfect potential agent here for some 2 3x8 20s. Tight grain all the way through, no knots, no wind shake. So definitely make 2 number 2 3x8 20s, along with some 1-inch lumber off the edge of it. A couple knots in the end, but not too critical. This one looks a little questionable in the center, so I'm making a 6x6 20. Six and a 16th, that's perfect. Make a good looking 6x6 20. Have no problem selling those. See, what I am having a problem is a dadgum log turner chain. I'm about to sharpen the cleats on it. I meant to do it this past weekend and got tied up. I have no problem getting 8 bait out of this. Had a little bit of gunk in the center. Ain't none of it showing what we want. I'm gonna go and cut a 10 by 10 20 out of this. It's too pretty not to. And we do sell some 10 by 10 20s. Always good to keep some of those on the yard. Did see where a couple more West Fraser mills shut down, which is one of your biggest sawmills in the world. They own quite a few sawmills, so hate to hear that from my local millers. Man, this lumber market these days is not doing too good. Really hoping maybe after the election we'll see something turn around in the lumber market, because they are shutting down left and right. Fortunately, we're not in technically the same field of lumber as them, where a lot of your bigger mills cut nothing but 2-inch or 1-inch lumber, and we just can't make money for that. And that's why we cut this bigger stuff, which main reason we're able to survive in the lumber market. And our retail has kind of helped hold us through. You know, it seems like when the lumber market's crap, maybe focus on your retail when it's good, focus on your wholesale. Because when it's crap, you can't sell your lumber for the price you really need to sell it at on wholesale to make any money. Kind of break even, if you're even lucky enough to do that. For retail, you can kind of, as long as you keep your prices somewhat the same throughout the year, find a good happy medium of what it's going to be during the hard times and the good times, just kind of leave it. And that way you're getting a good average throughout the year. You can't get greedy, but you can't get stupid either. Kind of an ugly looking 8-bait with all the knots on it, but a lot of people actually want that for decorative reasons. And like I said, a knot doesn't really hurt a whole lot on a bigger timber. Even though we do got a good hefty one on the corner, which isn't ideal. This thing is slap full of knots. I can't send that to my resaw. So we'll cut those knots off with a 1-inch slab. Shoot. Try to get an 8-bait out of this, but if not, we'll get a 6x6. Oh yeah, we'll get an 8-bait, no problem. Well, 8x16 I can pretty well easily tell what length I'm cutting because the log takes up the first 2 head blocks. I know it's an 8-footer. If it goes in between the second and third, I know it's a 10. Goes to the third, that's 12. Goes to the fourth, that's a 16. In between the fourth and the third is a 14. Nice 6x6 out of this. We do cut 3x6s as well. This thing's kind of red. I don't think it should affect the performance of my timber. Should still make a good 8-bait. You don't see many Carriage sawmills anymore these days, not in South at least. I guess Canada has a few of them. And they're still in America obviously, but a lot of them are chipping edgers, stuff like that. A lot of people use it for cypress and whatnot. More or less, there's not a whole lot of pine carriage sawing going on. There's a few left, but they've kind of died off over the years. Or 50 years ago, it wasn't nothing to go find a sawmill cutting pine with a carriage in it. Nice 8-bait with a good slab. Make some good 3-baits out of this right here. My gang is more or less a box, has a bunch of saws in it and has lasers telling you where each saw is. So he can line it up and get 2 3-baits out of it, and typically get a 2-inch off one side and a 1-inch off the other side as well. So should get quite a bit of lumber out of that. We'll get an 8x8 out of this. I don't typically like cutting 8-foot 8-baits, and this one's a little knotty in the center, so it's like my only option. Plus we do sell some of them. If you want a sawmill, the first thing you need to do is learn how to read a log. I could read a log before I ever sat in a sawyer's cabin. That's just because growing up with a family full of sawmillers, that's all my dad talked about to me growing up. And when the time was right, he let me sit in the carriage and learn it. And it was kind of came natural because I already knew how to read a log before I even set foot in the carriage. I think we can get an 8x20 out of that. A little loose in the center. Grain's not as tight as it would need to be. Plus, it's a little knotty in the center. Better to play it safe than sorry. Our bread and butter is 8-baits and fence boards. Sell a lot of rough cut, treated agriculture treatment 1x6s and rough cut 4x4s for fence. Man, and we sell the living piss out of them. And barn dominiums have gotten so popular in the past 5 years, and just barns in general. Everybody's building a barn, and a lot of people love these 8-baits for their poles and whatnot. Not only are they strong, they're pretty, you know. Gives uh-oh, got a chain off over there. Got my dust chain off at my edger, so they got that locked out. They're gonna fix that real quick, which means we're gonna chill out for a second. Dust chain back up and rolling. Make a nice 6-inch can out of that. Nah, a little crooked log, but I still think we can get an 8-bait out of it. close, not going to get an 8x8 out of that. So we will get a 6x6, Cole 6x6, just because it's a little, probably about to bust open now that I got this slab off of it. Nope. So I actually make a number 2 6x6. Got lucky there. Get another 6x6 out of this. And my gang saw operator, he's been doing this for a long time, longer than I've been sawmilling. So if he gets one, he can pretty well read it and kind of knows what we want, whether we want 3-inch lumber out of it or 6-inch lumber. So this next 6x6 is beautiful, our 6-inch can't, so we're going to make 3x6s out of this. 3x6 20s. Have no problem selling those. Now my debarker man probably should have cut this 20-footer right here into a 12 and an 8 or 2 10s, simply just because it's too small to get 2 3x6s out of, and I don't cut no 20-foot 4-inch. So ultimately this will probably turn into a 4x6 20. So I guess I do cut some 4-inch 20s. He'll either make it one 3x6 or one 4x6. Kind of his choice there. Most likely one 3x6. This is pretty enough for some 3x8 12s. Don't see nothing in the back side of it, so it's pretty good all the way through. Little bit of redness, but not enough that it should affect the strength or anything like that or grade of the log. Get 2 3x8s out of that. Don't know exactly what we're going to get out of this yet. See what we're working with. Full of knots. Don't believe it's big enough for an 8x8. I can about guarantee it's not. So we're just going to go ahead and do 6x6 out of that. Along with a little 1-inch cant. This is just a big beautiful log right here. Should get a little bit of yield out of this. It's pretty enough I could cut right through the center of this thing if I wanted to, but still need them 8x8 20s pretty heavy right now. And it's going to allow for me, like right here, I'm getting a 2-inch slab. That'll go to the edge or make a nice 2x8. Plus all the extra on the sides. Gonna make some more 2-inch lumber. Big hardy slab. Probably make a 1x8 out of that. And we should get 2 more very healthy slabs off each side here. Make some more lumber. Oh yes. This is a good log right here. If I had nothing but logs like this, I'd be in business. Next one is small enough. I mean, it's big enough I can make an 8x8 with this, but ultimately gonna make some 3x8s. It's not too big that it's gonna overdo my game, and it's very pretty, very tight grain, nothing in the center. Just tell this a properly growed log right here, properly growed tree, I guess you could say. So that'll make great 3-inch lumber. Next, on the other hand, be a perfect size for some 3x20s, but she's red pretty well all the way throughout. So we'll make an 8x out of this. Try to box off as much as possible. Send that to the chipper. See, it's busted up. It's got a little red hardness, a little wind shake right there in the face of it. Can almost just make this a coal 6x6, but I think it'll be alright as an 8x8. A lot of that'll probably go on the ground, and it's not exactly bleeding too bad, so I think it should be fine. It's not really bleeding at all. You can just kind of see the defection in it. No, I can little red on the front, but I can look at the log behind it and it looks pretty good. So I think we should be clear to make some 3x8s out of this. Don't think we'll lose any value in it, which I can get another look at the back side of the log here shortly. It looks good. Make some 3x20s out of that. Perfect candidate for some 3x620s. Very good in the center, very straight, no knots. Go 6x6 too, but we are needing 3x6 right now, and it's in the past. You don't want to cut coal 3-inch. You don't want to cut coal anything. So anytime you get a chance where you can make, make one sum up, you got to run with it. I'll go make a 16 footer. I could use some 10x10 16, so we'll go and make this a 10x10 16. It's one of them situations I would do just as good making 8x8s out of it. Whoops, sorry about that, fellers. Accidentally sent a slab to my edger. He'll be alright, he'll get it through somehow, some way. Talking to you guys, I made a boo-boo. It's alright though. Happy little mistake. Have ourselves a beautiful 10x10 16. No live edge, no knots hanging out. It's good looking 10x10. Another candidate could have made a 10x10, but with me a 20, I need to make baits. That's what we're gonna do. Go and pop us off a 1-inch slab. Let's not do that to Albert. I almost sent Albert a big old slab, but we'll just size it on down. Albert is my resaw guy. He's been here working for probably 50 years. He's about the only one here that can run the line bar resaw. Very hard machine to run. Just try not to send slabs too big, just because he is getting older. He's had some bodily injuries over the year, and I just can't wear you guys out. That's the main thing. For one, I can't replace him. He's just too good, that Albert. And got a 1x8 out of this as well. That chain is hung up again, so let's wait on them to do that. Safety first. Can go and send this out though while they fix that. You go and get one loaded up. See my guys there working on a chain. They got it all locked down. I might have to go over there and help them. See if they got it. They're testing it now. They got it. Gave me the clear. Wait till they're safely out the way, which they are now. Now let's lean with it and rock with it. Cut them knots off the side. Nice little 1-inch slab. A good looking 8-bait out of this. About all I can get out of it. Honestly, an ugly log. Just gotta give it an old haircut. Give it a fresh fade, I like to say. Get some of that ugliness off of it. And if you're building a barndominium, this is the log you'd want. Or this is the 8-bait you'd want here. Full of knots, got a little character to it. No corner knots, so it's still got its strength. Put a little stain on that bad boy, she'd be pretty. Alright, let's see what we got here. Another fine 8x8 contestant. Along with some 2-inch lumber off of it. Or some 1-inch. That chain done came off again. Obviously gonna have to look at that this weekend and figure out what in the world is going on with that. See if it works again. Well, that's 3 times in the past 30 minutes that chain has came off. So that tells me either A, there's a piece of trash in the trough somewhere making it jump off, or B, the chain is just so freaking loose that it needs to be tightened up. Have a link or so taken out of it. But as long as it's running, I can't shut down to fix it right now. That will be a lunch break fix, or an after work fix, or a Friday fix. Matter of fact, we're going to make one more cut into that because it's got a lot of wind shake on the end. Let's see if we can get that out of it. Not wind shake, it's got actual rot. So we're going to have to look at that junk. Just going to keep cutting that out of it. Might end up making a 6-inch can out of it. Go and flip it over. We got most of it out, so flip it over. Make a 6-inch can. So that went from being a coal 8x8 to a number 2 6x6, just like that. This will probably end this off here. Nice, we'll end it with some nice 3x8. Well, that's going to end us off. Well, that's going to do us up for today. It's lunchtime, which means I got to go steal one of my kids' Lunchables. If you haven't already, hit that like, hit that subscribe, drop a comment. Tell me what you want to see on the sawmill side of things. If there's something particular you want to see, just let me know. As always, appreciate y'all. God bless, and y'all have a wonderful work week. So I'm going to get me some meat.